Olumido, let me come back to you. Nobody's talking about the legislative and the fight against corruption and keeping the executive accountable. This deal for the dams was signed back in 2015 between the Kenyan government and the Italian government, and the Italian government then sort of began the process of lending the Kenyan government money through their banks. From where you sit now on the outside, when you look at what's happening in Parliament, do you get the feeling that Parliament are in sync with what the country wants, which is the fight against robbery with violence, according to what Marian has said? What are you seeing from where you sit right now?
I'm seeing that a lot more needs to be done. I think we must, Kenya is messy. We must go out of our way as a country, and I want to agree with Kiprono, that in this conversation ongoing, we need to really talk about which future do we want 50 years down the line. And I don't agree there's something called building bridges that excludes Kenyans of good mind, and that may table a document.
You're saying building bridges excludes Kenyans?
Where do I get them? I am more available to Kenyans, and I have experience in what I've been doing. I am not an illiterate person. Where do I get them? It seems to me, and you know, it is a product of the handshake. The handshake in itself, I thought, was meant to give us a platform to keep improving on future in terms of laws and bringing peace and all that.
And you're not seeing that?
No. What is developed, what is fast developing, that it's being convoluted with the issues of 2022. You know, like if you talk about the DP, William Ruto, for example, he has many issues which are very bad, and they are all over the paper. Basically, they're issues of robbery, like she says. But they belong in a court of law. What am I saying? One of the greatest evils that Jubilee government has committed since 2013 on Kenyans is killing parliament.
That is true. When
you kill parliament where the people are represented, you have nobody to talk for the people. You know, recently, not too long ago really, there was this issue of imported sugar with mercury. The DCI talks, the DPP talks. But in parliament, when I left and I was in leadership position, there were about 40 CIDs that roamed the corridors of parliament. How come nobody has been arrested for taking 10,000 shillings to give Kenyans chemicals? You know, that is as bad as it has gotten. What am I saying? I am saying what Wakili here has said is that things are so messy that nobody is clean. And let me give you an example. A judge, when you try to say the judiciary can only sort out issues in arbitration, arbitrate and tell you which way. A judge threw out that case by the DCI and the DPP so that a judge allowed the sugar which was being impounded in Mombasa to come to the market, and we are consuming it now. Go to our supermarkets, you will see sugar made in Dubai.
Okay, but what was the reasoning of that judge also?
The reasoning is, let me just tell you.
Okay.
A court must have conscience. Courts do have conscience. A court is not devoid of human intelligence. They are highly educated people. You cannot say, because there's bad prosecution, you allow chemicals in the market. I can tell you that is corruption.
Okay, but also it's also not fair to say that the judge allowed the sugar. The judge just dealt with what they had before.
No, they should not. They should not. If we are going to fight corruption in this country, there cannot be somebody who is a Kenyan and a Kenyan citizen at that, who should not care about the lives of Kenyan citizens.
Okay.
You know, there are several judges have several options before them, but that is not the point I wanted to make. I was saying, in agreeing with Kiprono, the DCI is doing a good job, the media is doing a sterling job, the DPP is doing a good job. I am not sure about the anti-corruption, because these people came in this new era. The anti-corruption itself sits in a stolen house from Kenyan public. We must clean house. The Anti-Corruption Commission sits in a building which has a very questioning corruption background. Begin from there. Clean the agencies, clean parliament, clean ESCC, clean the judiciary. But begin with the judiciary.
Okay.
Go to parliament. Make this thing.
Let's start with me. Start with that guy.
Because when you say, Trevor, let me just say this. When you accuse one person of stealing, even these leaders, they are only from our lot. The leaders are elected from you. In fact, a good journalist yesterday, the Business Daily, was being told how an MP has stole $1 billion, Bob. And he's from the media community. Clean even the media. Let us say that we are a corrupt nation. Do something about it. And how we do about it, keep improving on our laws.
All right. Kiprono, I'd like to hear what you think about the judiciary and whether they're failing us. But we have a caller from Kericho, Dixon. Dixon, good morning.
Good morning, Trevor.
Yes, go ahead with your comment or question, Dixon.
Yeah, my comment is that corruption can be fought in three stages, Trevor. One is morally, second is administratively, then third one is legally. I want just a thing administratively. Who appointed former CS Wario to be ambassador for Australia?
Sorry, Dixon, say that again.
Who appointed Wario to be ambassador in Australia?
Okay.
He had been accused of making Rio 2016. Who appointed Aisha Kaisan to a high office when his colleagues in and the top office is giving us a key exercise. Let him fight corruption administratively personally.
All right.
We seem to have a challenge with the line there, but I think you can get the gist of his question.
The idea is the appointments of questionable individuals. And Kiprono, we're coming to you to talk about the judiciary. Before we talk about the appointments that Dixon has just brought up, because he says we're involved in almost like a vicious circle. And that's exactly what Marilyn was also saying. People who have questionable character nominated and appointed to different places, assuming they're now clean. But first, let's start with the judiciary, what Jacoy was saying.
You know,
are they the weakest link?
I would say that there's been a great effort at judicial reform. I mean, I think I wouldn't want a blanket condemnation of the judiciary. I mean, I don't think, it's like one of the estates of governance. I mean, there's the executive, there's the judiciary, there's the legislature, and of course there is the fourth estate, of which I am one of you.
So scale of 1 to 10,
so to speak. I mean, there are issues in all these estates of governance. But I would say the judiciary has been a bit slower to come to the party in terms of actually getting their acts together to be able to keep in tandem with what we are seeing in terms of the messaging from the leadership of this country. I often wonder, I mean, I haven't had the privilege of discussing with him, but I often wonder what goes on in the president's mind with regard to these kind of headlines that we're seeing here, the narrative that we have in this country. And if you ask me, I would say that, President Kenyatta perhaps has a real good chance of defining his legacy through success in the fight against corruption.
Does he have the time?
If you ask me about the Big Four, I mean, they could happen, but the Big Four, to try to say that the Big Four will happen in 5 years, it's not going to happen. I mean, in 5 years, it's not going to happen.
We don't even have 5.
I've argued about the housing project, for example. I mean, P.S. Hinga is a brilliant mind. He's come up with an extremely effective logic around the housing scheme. But you're not going to produce 500,000 houses because you need 13,000 built houses per month between now and the next elections. That's not likely to happen. So if you ask me, I think the judiciary has been a bit slow to come to the party. But I'm not losing hope on them. I just think that we need to, as a country, make a concerted effort to ensure that all these things are happening. And maybe let's not even look far. We can benchmark with other countries like Rwanda. Rwanda is a much smaller country than we are, but then they adapted. I asked a leader in Rwanda, how did you succeed in your fight against corruption? In Rwanda today, if you take a trip, say, from Kigali to Gisenyi, and the road says 30 kilometers per hour, the driver will go 30 kilometers. And I engaged the driver and asked him, why wouldn't you go 40? He says, because I will be arrested and I will be charged. I mean,
consequences.
So there's personal responsibility.
They have worked on the software of their people, and it's a bottom-up approach. They've socialized their people on the need to do the right thing. I think the problem with us in Kenya is that we became so much an end justifies the means society. And this happened in the early 90s with the coming in of YK92, with Goldenberg, where we started glorifying wealth for wealth's sake. We don't glorify Winnie, who's gone and built a factory to employ Kenyans. Yeah. Instead, we'll go and say, fine, who is the so-and-so who's stolen these billions, and tomorrow we make them a leader.
Who is dishing it
out?
What
do we expect from them?
From the position
in my opinion, just back to the judiciary, I think that they need to move a little bit faster. But again, I support the judicial reform that is ongoing, and I think what the Chief Justice is trying to do to really speed up, and even the engagement with the public and the consultations, I think they're good.
From where you sit, your position as the chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, what opportunities has Kenya missed, especially because we haven't gotten our house in order in terms of graft? Do investors, for example, come to Kenya and ask? The papers have had stories previous times of investors who came to Kenya but were turned off by the fact that they were asked for a kickback or something of the sort. From where you sit, and I see a bit of a smile there, what do you hear? I
mean, that's a very broad topic. Again, like Winnie says, do we have how much time do we have?
Give us a 1 minute snapshot.
Mheshimiwa Jakoyo and I were when we were waiting to get in here. We were discussing this topic, and we said, look, what's one of the problems that we have in Kenya? Without noticing it, we've become so massively overregulated. I mean, we have legislation at the national level, government. We have legislation at county government. The regulations are not pro-business. Today, when they say you cannot transact more than 1 million shillings, last night I had dinner with one of the wealthiest people in this country, a very, very successful business person in many sectors of the economy. He was trying to remove cash to pay somebody. He couldn't because of new regulation that's been imposed by central bank. It's ridiculous. Why can't you bank 1 million shillings and more? I mean, okay, fine, we're trying to fight graft, but that's probably, in my own opinion, the most harebrained way we can do it. Let's go and find these guys. Let's get to the bottom of these probes. Let's not tell people you can't bank 1 million shillings. Then we have, one of the other opportunities that we have lost is, I don't think we've had, a one-stop shop in terms of where business actors are supposed to go to as interlocutors for doing business with Kenya. If we look at the first 5 years of Jubilee, we had 3 ministries of government dealing with business. We had East African Community Industrialization, we had Foreign Affairs and International Trade, and then we had, what was the third ministry? I can't remember the name. But it is very unclear. I said to the leadership one day, if Richard Branson came to Kenya wanting to do business, where would he start? Because you would find that one of the ministries in charge of international trade, the agencies that are supposed to support that ministry, Kenya Investment Authority, EPZ, are sitting elsewhere. So we'd go and proposition to sell Kenya. We've been on many trade missions abroad with even Winnie, and you would find that maybe the agencies are not there because the other minister didn't clear these ones. So I would say there's 1, a bit of lack of coordination. 2, there's over-regulation. And then 3, and obviously that's one of the biggest problems that we have, is graft. I mean, people will come here with good bona fide ideas, but then by the time they're trying to execute those ideas, they've been asked so many times along the value chain to produce something that they just wake up and say, look, why do I want to do business here?
All right, hold that thought. We have another call online, Alphonse Okot from Kisumu. Alphonse, good morning. Good morning, Alphonse.